Hi there, my name is Taro Iwamoto. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner and a movement coach. And last year I made a video titled Benefits of Floor Sitting or Sitting on the Floor, and then where I explained how sitting on the floor, it can be very healthy thing to do, and then just made some suggestions that I start practicing and to improve the flexibility of the hips and the mobility of the joints. Anyway, and this is a follow-up video. And if you haven't watched the first one, my first video, and I put the link down below so you can just check that one out too. And so today's video, I'm going to talk and show you the three different, I'm going to pick three different specific sitting positions. And the long sitting, cross-leg sitting, and then a side sitting. And then explain a little bit more in details of a specific sitting position and then the benefits of each specific sitting position. So anyways, let's start with the long sitting first. Here, so the long sitting is sitting with the both legs long, like so. Okay, and so this is the long sitting position. And then so the challenge would be for somebody who has really tight short hamstrings. And this can be a very challenging position because they don't have enough, if you don't have enough length in your hamstrings, enough flexibility in your hamstrings, and then what will happen is that the tight hamstring, the short hamstring muscle is going to start to pull, it's going to pull your pelvis backwards here, okay? Notice the effect of my lower back here, you round your back. So if you sit on the floor, and then if you have a really hard time trying to sit right over the sit bones comfortably, okay, which suggests, this indicates that your hamstrings are very short and tight, and as a result, if you're trying to do this way here, which is okay just doing it for a little bit, but if you're always doing that, and notice how that starts to strain the lower back too, because you're putting strain and overstretch over here constantly, okay? And so even though just the sitting here is helpful, however, if you want to actually benefit a little bit more, and so my suggestion would be use the pad, use the cushion, okay, over here. So if you have a foam pad, and then you can just add the foam pad underneath your sit bones, and then you sit comfortably, and then just to check the shape of your back without working hard. If that will put you over here, and then you can sit right over the sit bones without feeling like you're being pulled backwards like this, okay, then that height is probably enough. But if you still find yourself that you're over here, then it suggests that you need a little bit more height, so that you can add another one over here. Okay, how's that feel? Then if that, okay, so that's how you find a what it is the appropriate amount of support underneath the sit bones, whether you need one or not. Okay, and so the benefit of this one is if you can put yourself in a proper position like so, and it'll really demand the length in your hamstring just being in that position, and really trains your body to be sitting upright, okay, without making an effort. But over time, as you start to become a little bit more comfortable sitting in the long sitting position, then you can remove a little bit of support and see if that you can still sit right on top of the sit bones. Okay, so you can work towards that. And if that's just a little bit challenging, that's fine. You can try to roll the pelvis forward so that you can bring your pelvis and bring your sit bones right over here without making that much of an effort. A little bit of effort is fine, but you just don't want to be sitting in a position that then you have to constantly work so hard to be upright, and that's probably not the right position. It's not the reasonable position. So that's one thing. And so the next position will be cross-leg sitting. Okay, and this is one of my favorite sitting position. So you can do a sitting this way, you can sit in this way. It actually does make a slightly difference in which leg is in front. So it's a good idea that you can also just once in a while you change the crossing of the legs, okay, and that actually slightly changes the position of your hips. So as far as what you need and whether you need a support again underneath your sit bones or not, it's depending on, okay, so when you sit here, you can again watch, okay, do you have a do you naturally go backwards like this way, so your pelvis is back, rounding your back like so. Again, so this indicates the tightness of the hip muscles, okay? And same thing, it'll round your back and it'll overstretch your back over time. If you're always doing that, then yes, you can strain your lower back muscles and the joint and the tissues around the back. And that's probably not the intention that you're working on. And in that case, again, use the padding underneath here and you sit, okay? And then you check the back position, check the position of the pelvis, and again the goal is to find how much support you need to bring your pelvis right in the middle so that you're sitting on your sit bones, and then that'll put your spine in a nice neutral alignment, okay? When the pelvis goes back, okay, so the low back, the entire spine has to follow where the spine, where the pelvis goes, right? So the pelvis goes the opposite and extremely going to forward. If I tilt my pelvis too far forward, and see what happens to my lower back. I'm creating a little more arch, okay, and increase the arch in my lower back. So that's how you know, okay, so how you can actually adjust the position of the pelvis, and then that changes the whole alignment of the spine, okay? So the difference between the cross leg sitting and then the long leg sitting is that this cross leg sitting, it doesn't really put too much demand on the hamstring. So if you just have a tightness in the hip rotators or the joint of the hip joints, and then you may be able to sit in a more neutral position without you using a pad. However, if you have a tightness in your hip joints and in the rotators muscles, and then you may find that you need to use some support underneath and in order to sit in a more neutral position. So the benefit is it demands more the hip joints in a rotational plane, and that would be in an external rotation. So that would be helpful for somebody who has really stiff hip joints, and just sitting in that positions and making sure that your pelvis, you're sitting on the sit bones and your pelvis is somewhat more neutral, okay? And then you can practice that. So just being in that position, and over time, it demands the joint and the capsules and the muscles, adductors, and internal rotators of the hip joints, the hip muscles, and they're being a little bit more stretched over time, and that'll help improve and get a little bit more flexible and more mobile. So you can work on that. That's the benefits. And then the third position, sitting position, will be what I call the side sitting. Okay, and this is just a combination of cross leg sitting and then seiza sitting. Okay, so the half sitting position. And so this is most people have a preference one way over the other way, and there's a reason for that. It could be the tightness of the hips and the asymmetries in the hip joints, two hip joints, and also in the stiffness in the spine and the rib cage. And so that'll determine which side is easier, and nonetheless it is helpful. And if you're from perspective improving your hip mobility, spinal mobility, and joint flexibility, mobility, and it's a good idea to just get used to and practice sitting on both sides. Okay, so one way, and once in a while you switch over to the other side. If this is really uncomfortable, here's what I'm going to do. Here, I'll put this one over the front side and just raise it Okay, and you will know right away when you're getting into the side sitting position if you need something. If it doesn't feel really comfortable, if it feels extremely uncomfortable, then yeah, you probably need something. Okay, and this might not be a good position for somebody who has a lot of knee problems, and because it really torques the knees more than other positions. So you have to be mindful of your knee conditions, and if you're concerned, say you have meniscal irritation or tear or something like that, and then yeah, you want to be mindful that if that really, and if you try to sit in this position and then right away that you feel the pain in your knee, or after a little while you start to feel some discomfort in your knee, then it's probably not the right position to start practicing right now anyway. So so the benefit of this one is, here's the front part is similar to the cross leg sitting in as far as the position of the joint, right? So this hip is externally rotated, and then so the adductor muscles in internal rotator muscle on this side is being stretched and being used. At the same time, on the other side is the opposite. So this is internal rotated, okay, and so this for some people is a very, very difficult position to be in. So that's a benefit, and because you are basically helping it to mobilize the hip joints into the internal rotation. So that's something that I think is beneficial for most of us. Okay, so that's how you do it. And if no support, then you can't sit comfortably, you feel like you're really awkward position, then yeah, try using the pad underneath here and see how that helps. Okay, and it is okay to, you don't have to sit like this way. It is okay naturally. Okay, so when the pelvis sits into these positions, and then the hip joint is allowing the pelvis to turn into this position, and then naturally your spine is going to follow where the pelvis is moving into. So therefore you see some curvature in my spine, right? Okay, and that's okay. And actually does help in a way that it does help mobilize your spine in that way. So you can see how it's slightly like a C curve here, okay, with a little bit of rotation. So that could be helpful. And then when you switch over to the other side, it's completely opposite. Now, here, this side is external rotated, my hip, and my right side of the hip is internal rotated, and then the pelvis is now hips, both hips allowing the pelvis to turn a little bit, and then notice the curve in my spine, so that it's the opposite C curve now, right? You can see that. Okay, so that does help mobilize the spine, and you can see where you feel the stiffness. It will tell you what part of the spine that is maybe a little bit less mobile. Okay, anyways, there are more sitting positions, but I just thought that I'd pick 3 common sitting positions and explain the benefits and of sitting in each specific sitting position, what are the benefits to your body, okay, and how you can modify, how you can tell whether you need some support or not. Okay, and so just like I mentioned in my first video, be sure if you haven't done this one before, and if you haven't been sitting on the floor like many years, and so really ease yourself into sitting on the ground, and it may take time, but if you use it, and then your body will change over time, and then that I can tell you for sure. But don't expect, and this is something that you're gonna do a bunch of it each day, and then you're gonna make a difference in the next day. No, so just be very realistic and very reasonable, and give yourself and give your body plenty of time to adapt and then adjust over time. Okay, so you may even start with just a few minutes and a couple times a day, and then as you become more comfortable, then you can start to use that positions while watching TV or reading the books or something like something else. Okay, so incorporate that position into your daily activities, and that's how you can actually change how you can improve your flexibility and mobility of your body over time. So just have fun, okay, and don't make yourself cause a lot of pain, okay. So just be mindful of the process that the body takes, okay. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and then you learned a few things from me. And if you do have any questions regarding anything that I talked about today, and any concerns, if you try any of the positions that you're having a hard time with, and let me know, and just write in the comment section, then I'll be able to answer your questions, okay. And or if you have any concerns or any other questions, and please feel free to write them down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you, okay. So thank you very much for watching, and if you're still new to this channel, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. All right, well, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.